From the stripped-down genius of When Doves Cry by Prince to the neon joy of Wham's Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, 1984 brought some of the most iconic chart toppers of the decade. Rock reinvented itself, pop went global, and legends were born in real time. These are all the #1 Billboard songs from 1984. Karma Chameleon, Culture Club. This was the sound of color. Culture Club brought flamboyance, charm, and melody into one perfect pop single. Karma Chameleon was upbeat but sad, catchy but conflicted. Boy George's voice floated across the song like a smile hiding something deeper. The track stayed at #1 for 3 weeks. Released under Virgin and Epic Records, it became the band's biggest U.S. hit and an international smash. For many listeners, it defined what 1980s pop sounded like at its most playful and bittersweet. Then the tempo jumped, the colors faded, and a synthesizer launched one of the decade's most unstoppable rock riffs. Jump, Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen picked up a keyboard instead of a guitar and everything changed. Jump was loud, brash, and unapologetically synthetic, yet it still carried all the energy fans expected. The beat was tight, the vocals were bold, the chorus was massive. It held the #1 spot for 5 weeks and was released under Warner Bros. Records. This was the band's first and only #1 single, and it happened by doing something totally unexpected. Jump bridged the gap between rock and pop without losing its swagger. From a stadium-sized anthem to a movie soundtrack that danced its way to the top, the charts took another turn. Footloose, Kenny Loggins. Few songs captured a film better than this one. Footloose was made for motion. Built around a story about dancing and rebellion, the song took off on its own, driven by guitar twangs, claps, and a beat that refused to sit still. It spent 3 weeks at #1 and was released by Columbia Records. For Kenny Loggins, this cemented his reputation as the king of soundtracks. It was pure energy, a pop rock celebration that never slowed down. After all that movement, things got quieter. A ballad arrived next, stripped down and full of heartbreak. Against All Odds, Take a Look at Me Now, Phil Collins. Phil Collins had a way of making silence feel louder than sound. Against All Odds was not built to impress. It was built to ache. The piano was bare. The lyrics were desperate. The vocals, even in their softness, carried weight. This song reached #1 and stayed there for 3 weeks. It was released by Atlantic Records and marked one of Collins' most emotional performances. Pulled from the soundtrack of the same name, it became more than a movie song. It became one of his signature tracks. That emotional intensity stayed put for a while, but soon the charts made room for something smoother. Hello, Lionel Richie.
Hello, is it me you?
This was not just a ballad, it was a conversation. Lionel Richie sang as if he were speaking directly into someone's silence. The melody was simple, the delivery was warm, and the emotional weight made it unforgettable. Hello walked a line between romantic and haunting, especially with that now iconic music video.
I can see it in your eyes, I can see it in your smile.
The song stayed at #1 for 2 weeks and was released through Motown Records. It became one of Richie's most beloved tracks and helped solidify his solo career after leaving the Commodores. There was nothing flashy here, just sincerity that landed like a whisper you couldn't ignore. Time After Time, Cyndi Lauper.
Time after time, if you fall, I will catch you.
Cyndi Lauper could be loud and wild, but not here. Time After Time was soft and aching. It floated gently, letting the listener fall into each line. The melody never pushed. The lyrics told a story of trust, regret, and love that doesn't go away.
If you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting.
The song reached #1 and stayed there for 2 weeks. Released through Portrait Records, it became Lauper's first #1 hit and one of her most iconic. It showed that behind the bright hair and punk styling was a voice full of depth and honesty. As Lauper's final note faded, the charts brought in something sharper. A band known for style took the top spot with precision and rhythm. The Reflex, Duran Duran. Duran Duran were already MTV royalty, but this song pushed them into true pop dominance. The Reflex was chaotic in the best way. Sliced vocals, glitchy effects, and a pounding beat made it their most experimental hit. It was weird, it was catchy, and it worked. The song spent 2 weeks at #1 and was released through Capitol Records. It was their first chart topper in the United States, and it captured the exact moment when synth pop fully took over. Duran Duran proved that style and substance could live in the same 3-minute track. Then came a voice that needed no help from effects. One artist, one message, one unforgettable scream of emotion. When Doves Cry, Prince. No bass, no safety net, just raw talent. Prince stripped everything down and still made a track that sounded fuller than most. When Doves Cry was genius in its restraint. A drum machine, a haunting guitar, and lyrics that cut deep. It stayed at #1 for 5 weeks and was released through Warner Bros. Records. The song became the biggest hit of Prince's career and changed the rules of pop music. It challenged the norm and still dominated every radio station it touched. No chorus, no background vocals, just Prince. The next song came from a blockbuster film and brought a different kind of energy. The Ghosts were coming, and so was a brand new anthem. Ghostbusters, Ray Parker Jr. It started as a theme song and ended up a pop culture event. Ghostbusters was built to match a blockbuster, but it stood on its own as one of the most fun and recognizable tracks of the year. Ray Parker Jr. gave the film its anthem, and in return, the charts gave him his biggest hit.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
It held the #1 position for 3 weeks. Released by Arista Records, the song blended funk, pop, and a little bit of mischief. It was playful without being forgettable. You didn't just hear it, you remembered it. The next #1 was quieter, more personal, and carried decades of history in every line. It was not just another hit, it was a statement from a voice that had been waiting too long to be heard. What's Love Got to Do with It? Tina Turner. This was not just a comeback, it was a reintroduction. Tina Turner's voice carried decades of struggle and survival, and this song wrapped all of it into a perfectly constructed pop track. Her delivery was calm, but the words cut deep. What's Love Got to Do with It wasn't about heartbreak, it was about taking your power back.
Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken?
The song stayed at #1 for 3 weeks and was released by Capitol Records. It became Tina Turner's signature song and her only #1 hit in the United States. It did not shout. It simply stood tall and demanded to be heard. Tina Turner's anthem stood its ground with quiet strength, but after 3 weeks at the top, the charts made room for something even simpler. No drama, no protest, just a phone call, a melody, and 3 words that never get old. I Just Called to Say I Love You, Stevie Wonder.
To say I love you.
Stevie Wonder had already delivered decades of classics, but this one was different. It was simpler, less layered, more direct. I Just Called to Say I Love You sounded like a greeting card turned into a song, but beneath that was something powerful. It was about showing up, saying it out loud, keeping love simple. The track held the top spot for 3 weeks and was released through Motown Records. It became one of Wonder's most commercially successful singles, even though it divided critics. What mattered more was how it felt, like a hug that arrived out of nowhere. And just like that, the charts pivoted again, from emotion to motion. The next hit was all style and rhythm. Queen, No More Love on the Run, Billy Ocean. This one rolled in on a breeze. Queen No More Love on the Run had smooth vocals, bouncing synths, and a kind of effortless cool that made it feel like summer, no matter the season. Billy Ocean did not force a thing, he just let the groove lead.
Passion burns you like never before.
It reached number 1 and held the spot for 2 weeks. Released under Arista Records, the song became one of Ocean's signature hits and helped him maintain a strong run through the middle of the decade. It was radio-friendly, endlessly playable, and stuck in your head without even trying. That momentum continued with a track that kicked the door open and danced through it. Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, Wham! Some songs are impossible to ignore. This one came in swinging with neon energy, finger snaps, and George Michael sounding like he was smiling the whole time. Wake Me Up Before You Go Go was retro, modern, and joyful all at once.
Wake me up before you go, go, don't leave me hanging.
The song spent 3 weeks at number 1 and was released by Columbia Records. It brought 1960s flair into the 1980s and made it feel brand new. Wham became a household name, and George Michael's charm turned into full-fledged stardom. The next track traded the glow for something cooler, less bubblegum, more edge. Out of Touch, Daryl Hall and John Oates. This song didn't shout, it moved. Out of Touch had a rhythm that crept under your skin and stayed there. The production was sharp, the vocals were slick. It sounded like a late-night drive through a city you didn't fully trust. It held the number 1 spot for 2 weeks and was released under RCA Records. Hall and Oates were already chart regulars by this point, but this track gave them one more run at the top. It was smooth, modern, and just a little mysterious. But before the year ended, one final hit arrived. Loud, confident, and about to change everything. Like a Virgin, Madonna. This was the moment when Madonna stopped being a rising star and became a cultural force. Like a Virgin had bounce, attitude, and the kind of hook that refused to go away. The lyrics sparked conversation, the performance turned heads, and the song, it owned the radio. It dominated the number 1 spot for 6 weeks and was released through Warner Bros. Records. The track became Madonna's first number 1 in the United States and redefined what pop stardom looked like. Nothing about it was subtle. That was the point. That was 1984, a year that flipped expectations, launched careers, and dominated radios from coast to coast. Which song still plays in your head without warning? Tell us in the comments. And if you want more trips back to music's most unforgettable years, don't forget to like and subscribe. There's more where that came from.